Namaste everyone. Welcome to another episode of Elevate with yours truly, Pranisha. Today we bring you an extraordinary guest who embodies entrepreneurship, hospitality and diplomacy. Join us as we explore the remarkable journey of Karan Vaidya, Vice President of Vaidya Group and one of the world's youngest Honorary Consul for the Republic of Latvia. With his dapper style and passion for culinary arts, Karan leaves an incredible mark. Stay tuned for an inspiring conversation that will elevate your mind and ignite your ambitions. Let's dive into the extraordinary world of Karan Vaidya on today's episode. Hi Karanji, welcome to the Elevate. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Pranisha.
Yeah, it's my pleasure too. So let's start this conversation on a very basic manner, right? So as a interview ma aunu bhayo, so what's planned out for the rest of the day, especially ke plan that's our schedule ma?
So as I mentioned before, I've already done my workout so that I can start my day, but I've kept half a day for you, and following that I probably have to go to work, do some meetings, do some follow-up calls, and maybe I'll do a swim in the evening.
Okay, that's quite interesting. You're quite active. So you just mentioned working out, right? So मलाई चाहिँ के लाग्छ भन्दाखेरि एउटा कुनै पनि मान्छेको चाहिँ a day in a life बुझिसकेपछि चाहिँ उसको success को राज छुपेको हुन्छ त्यसमा भन्ने जस्तो लाग्छ के. So how does a typical day in a life of Karan Vaidya looks like?
More than typical, I would talk about an ideal day in my life.
Okay,
because I target towards that. True. And not all days are that ideal, you know. So I try to wake up I have my alarm set at 4:55 a.m. every day, and I try to wake up at 5. So 5 to 6 I give myself time to maybe do some reading, or because I generally have a book for the morning and book for the evening. So read a few pages, get yourself up. And one thing that's important that I learned from Andrew Huberman, who's a Stanford scientist, is that you should get daylight, like light into your eyes as soon as you wake up rather than caffeine. So I try to get that in. Then 6 onwards, I work out, 1.5, go up to 2 hours. Then I go get ready for my work. But before the work craziness and the busyness starts, I have this small routine where I read these 2 books, which are daily quotation books. So it's like Daily Stoic, and there's one's called the Daily Law. So it has like, so for example, you know, June 1st, you have a quotation. So I generally post that on social media as well. And then I have a way of journaling. Okay. So I write that quotation down first, then the second book's quotation down, then I write about my day, what happened before. Then I write these things called gratitudes and frequencies. So it's thanking what I have, and frequencies are things that I want, like affirmations. So that's my routine. Then I start the day.
Oh my God, indeed, that's a very ideal routine that I am looking forward to adopt in my life as well. So, हजुरको यो कुरा सुन्दै गर्दाखेरि I am pushed back to my personal story. So, lockdown को बेलामा lockdown भन्दा अगाडि भनौं न, I was interested in reading books, but मेरो time schedule ले गर्दाखेरि I couldn't incorporate it in my daily life. तर lockdown मा I had all the time in my life, and especially I read this book from a recommendation, The Morning Miracle भन्ने.
Okay.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I've read similar books. But tell me about it.
Yeah, so The Morning Miracle भन्ने book पढेँ, and then it changed the life that I was living completely. So it basically talks about, यो कुरा मलाई मेरो भ्युअर्सहरुसँग पनि शेयर गर्न मन लाग्यो. So यसमा चाहिँ मेन कुरा भनेको it talks about 6 acronyms हरु हैन, अनि savers भन्नेमा छ के. So we need to start our day following these 6 steps रे. So S, silence. So उठ्ने बित्तिकै we need to be in a moment of silence so that we can start our day right, हैन. A, affirmations, so that we have that self-love guiding us throughout the day. And V, visualization, like what we want to do in a day, you visualize it would be really profitable. And E, as you said, exercising is also one of the best things that we can start our day from. And R, reading.
Okay.
So anything, if we manage to read something out of it, so with your knowledge, it will help us to start the day perfectly. And the last savers go S, it's called scribbling.
Okay.
So scribbling ma चाहिँ, as you said, we can journal as well, and especially or we can write out to-do list हैन. So it's kind of similar. So त्यसले चाहिँ मलाई अलिकति push back गर्यो.
That's interesting.
And I definitely would recommend you to go through the book as well.
And I feel my routine kind of has some parts of it, not all,
exactly.
but I'll definitely look into it.
Exactly. त्यही भएर चाहिँ मलाई ठ्याक्क त्यही कुरा याद आयो. So you mentioned about exercising, है? So is there any typical routine that you follow? Okay, gymming मात्र गर्नुहुन्छ कि do you incorporate other forms of exercise?
From back in high school, I was in the swim team and I used to swim a lot. So I was always a good swimmer from the start. So that's where my, strength training started, and I learned about gym, working out, strengthening your muscles to be faster in the pool, But that's how it started. But now I feel that gym has become a part of life.
Okay.
Like I said, it is like a, it's a trigger to my day. So I need to start that, then I will go fast. If I don't do it, I'll be slower throughout the day. So in terms of routine, in general, I mean, I don't want to tell my routine and people to just follow it blindly. I feel like if you haven't started working out, you should try to push yourself to walk at least 30 minutes. Just start with that, because I will get into my habits later as well. But just start with something small that you can do that is easily digestible in your day, even if it means that getting out of your bed and putting your shoes on and not even going for a walk, to start with. Then you can build up to something bigger. So for me, what I do right now is I wake up, so by 6:30 I'm in the gym. I do my weight training routine, which is, I don't know if I want to get into detail, but I'm doing upper, lower, and one more extra day. And then I do my cardio. And like I said, evenings I try to swim or do something else, some active thing.
So the fitness in you is engraved from your childhood itself,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about discipline. I think it truly justifies the way we live in. So on the scale of 1 to 10, where do you place yourself in terms of discipline?
That's interesting. More than rating myself, I'd rather say that I would target 11 out of 10. Because like I said, I'm not saying I am 11 out of 10, but I'm saying that you should target more than you want.
True, definitely.
Because if you try to target 11, even if you reach 7 or 8, you'll be happy,
That's a huge achievement in itself.
There's that quote where you say you shoot for the stars, at least you'll reach the moon, So that's what I do generally.
That's amazing. I think you are the perfect guest I can ever have for Elevate. And especially, you also talked about reading habits. So reading habits, did you start it from childhood fitness just say, or else pachi incorporate back with your life, man?
Reading and writing, actually. A lot of people don't know, but I write a lot.
Okay.
Reading was a habit that I developed during boarding school. So I was super young. So 4th grade, I was very much into books because they were like a window of escape to my boarding school life, which was monotonous, And there I started reading. I used to read. I was a voracious reader back in the day as well. I used to read more fiction, of course. 4th grade was Enid Blyton. Then we went to Harry Potter's and Chronicles of Narnia. Then it developed, but now mostly I read non-fiction books because I want to spend time on books that elevate me,
Thank you for that.
And I think everyone should, even if you read 2 pages a day, you can finish a book, let's say average 300 pages, so 150 days you can finish a book. I mean, you should target more, but you can start with that.
That's interesting. So recently I've also trying up a new challenge called 75 Days Hard Challenge. Are you aware of it?
I've heard something about it.
Okay. So the 75 Hard Challenge ma चाहिँ के हुँदो रहेछ भन्दाखेरि we need to follow the 4 non-negotiable activities in our life, right? And it's just been 5 days मैले start गरेको. यसमा चाहिँ के हुनुपर्छ भन्दाखेरि first thing is do a 45 minutes workout twice a day. एउटा चाहिँ it needs to be outside your home. Or environment, open environment. First one is exercise. Second one is we need to follow a particular meal. A diet we need to follow for 75 days straight. And the third thing is we need to have 1 gallon of water. And especially 4th one is to read 10 books 10 pages of a book daily. So I think it's a really good challenge to push ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I've just started, and I hope that I incorporate in my life a day part of someone more than 75 days as well. So यो डिसिप्लिनको कुरा गऱ्यौँ हामीले, बुक्सको कुरा गऱ्यौँ अनि एक्सर्साइजको कुरा गऱ्यौँ है. So how is it all helping you in your career?
So I mean, it affects me slightly differently, all that factors. But I feel like fitness, books, and writing and daily habits are like foundations to who I am today, And for example, I would say fitness would be the foundation, and books would be the knowledge that is kind of raining down on your life. So whatever life gives you, whenever it challenges you, because challenge comes in everyone's life, you just need to be prepared. Even though it's not, your life might be cruising on easy mode right now, you never know when hard mode hits you. So for that, I think each and every one of us should be prepared in our mind, in our body, and in our soul. I think that's why I do all those things.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with every part of it, because everything happens for a reason, and especially it's our mind that helps us incorporate in every situation. Okay, so that's a very good piece of advice. So Abba, let's talk about from a flashback of your life. Let's start it from your academics journey. So briefly guide us through your journey. And then where are you now?
Yeah. I mean, I started boarding school when I was 5.5 years old.
Okay.
And this was in India.
India.
So it was a British boarding school in India. That's where I started my journey. And after my schooling in India, I was in Welham, then I was in Pathways World School. And from there, I went for engineering at Purdue University. And I finished my bachelor's in engineering and minor in economics. Then I worked for a bit. And then I got into a program by Sloan School of Management, which is MIT's business arm. But this is a dual degree program that happens partially in Beijing, China, and partially in Boston. And you can choose one more university. So London, I chose London Business School.
London Business
School. So I was in Tsinghua University in Beijing. I was in MIT Boston, and partially in London Business School in London. So that's my schooling journey.
Okay, one thing very common in our life is that Miro Hazur Bua, he studied his master's in London Business School.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that's one common thing that we both have, right? So, and how was the experience?
It was great in the sense that I feel like every step of the way I evolved, through the education. Because I don't think education is just you reading books and trying to understand what that theory is, but it changes the way you think. So whenever someone asks me if, I'm an engineer by education, but I'm not really doing engineering related work right now, although I have engineers, working with me. But being an engineer does not mean that you just can calculate the, how much a load bearing capacity of a pillar is, but rather you see a problem, you get a structure in your brain, and you find a solution. That's how it helped me. And same thing with business. So from engineering I went to an MBA. An MBA basically taught me to look at a business, see the problems, break it down into pieces, see where the problems are, take it out and make it into a better business. So that's part of what education does for you, I feel.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So any particular memory from your high school maybe that you would like to remember, that you truly enjoyed and you're truly grateful for that you did it? Is the case of stories?
Yeah, sure. High school, mom. So we had a band. Right? It used to be called Illusions. I haven't told this to anyone except for high school. And we were 4 or 5 of us, very good friends. And we were very into Led Zeppelin, Eric Clapton, Metallica back in the day, some of us had long hair too. Now I have a buzz cut, but I had long hair. And we did a concert in the end of 12th grade where it was a charity concert, and we raised enough money to pay to make a well in a neighboring village, which is quite dry, because Gurgaon area, it was very dry. So it was part of an activity in our curriculum as well. We had to do that.
Social service.
But that just helped. So we did about 18 songs and we collected money, then gave it to the people, and they made a well in a village. So I think that's one of my best memories.
Yeah, and that's something that we can really be grateful for. Ani, what was your role in the band? What would you perform?
Rhythm, bass, and a few songs that I had lower pitch voice, because I can't go high. So we had a great singer. His name was Siama. He's from Mizoram, and his voice was amazing. And we had great drummer, guitarist as well. So rhythm, bass, and some singing.
Okay, so are you guys still in touch?
Yeah, definitely. And not as much as we used to be, but definitely.
And when is the next concert happening?
The comeback of Illusions.
Exactly. When is the comeback happening?
We'll plan one soon and let you know.
I would definitely want a ticket on that.
Definitely.
And especially, so yeah, we talked about it. And so you have so many feathers on your cap. So you are an entrepreneur, you are a hotelier too, and you are also one of the youngest ambassador for the Latvia group. So let's start from entrepreneurship. So how did you start your journey, your working journey, and right after your education? What was the first job you did, or what was the first activity you did after you passed out from MIT?
Okay, even before MIT, I was, after engineering school, I worked with General Motors for a bit, the car company, and during that time they were just starting with the hybrid electronic, it was called the e-assist program, which used to basically charge the car battery when you brake, which is used in most of the vehicles now. So we were helping with the supply chain of that in Kokomo, Indiana, after Purdue. So after that, after MIT, something interesting happened. So I was at London Business School doing my last year, and there was a competition, a strategy competition held by a Canadian startup that was in the telecommunications sector. They basically made these little SIM card stickers that goes on top of your SIM card that you use in your daily life, and you put it back into the slot. And it has, I think, contracts with 192 countries around the world. So whenever you're traveling, you can just switch to the network. And no roaming costs. It was called No Roaming, KNOW, roaming. It was a pun. So I worked there for a bit, and they sent me to Singapore. So that's actually the case competition we won as the first prize in London Business School. So they flew us to Toronto. We worked on it for 6 months. Then we flew to Singapore. And after Singapore, I was there for about 6 months. Then the earthquake happened, and I had to come back to Nepal. I wanted to come back to Nepal, actually. So I left that job and came back here.
Okay. So what was it? Singapore got this lucrative job, and then you came back to Nepal. So what pushed you? Earthquake was one of the reasons, of course, as you mentioned. So
my plan was always to be back here, because from what I've gotten, the exposure I've gotten as a Nepali, I'm highly grateful to my parents, and I didn't want to use that exposure, that education, that knowledge anywhere else in the world but Nepal. So that's why one of my main, start with why I saw the book somewhere here, Simon Sinek. So one of my biggest whys is to empower the youth of Nepal through whatever. It doesn't matter. It's it can be business, it can be wearing proper clothes, it can be fitness. So that empowering, I wanted to do all my life. So earthquake was just a trigger that brought me back quicker, because I could not just stay in Singapore looking at the news and seeing the horrific things here. I just wanted to be here, whatever I could do. So the plan was always to come back. It just happened sooner with the earthquake.
Yeah. So any specific thing that you and Vaidya Group were inclined to after earthquake?
So that time I was not the Honorary Consul of Latvia, but my father was the Honorary Consul of Ukraine. And he did a lot during that time for Ukrainians, for Nepalese as well. There were almost 90 families camped out in a house for 15 days till they were rescued. They were fed, my mother and my sister were making food for them. And, for that he received a very high award, the highest civilian award from Ukraine as well. So a lot of things here and there we have been working on. doing
So
that.
that's really good to listen. एउटा दक्ष जनशक्ति हैन बाहिरबाट education plus exposure लिएर आउनु भयो, and then you are all investing it all in your own homeland. So it's very inspiring. And हजुरको experience बाट चाहिँ what would you like to advise students passing out their SLC +2 level को हुन्छ नि, what would you recommend them to do in the early age?
So one thing I would really recommend them to do is to try whatever, especially in terms of business ventures. If you have an idea, just go for it. Because from, let's say they are 20s, from the early 20s or to, you know, early 30s is a time to do a lot and fail a lot.
True, we have that liberty.
Exactly. You have the liberty, you have that time and that age. And people don't understand, you know, all the people that are successful are not successful by one shot.
True.
They have failed a million times before they've gotten there. So might as well do that sooner than later, you know. So I would advise them to try, fail, but get back up again. Like I say, you know, you fall back 7 times, get back up 8 and keep moving forward.
So you have been involved in the entrepreneurship area, so Nepalko entrepreneurship situation kasto cha? Would you recommend people to pursue entrepreneurship? Ki jobs are better these days. Nepalko situation.
For me, honestly, I think entrepreneurship is definitely key, but you need some extreme level of resilience to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy job. Even, you know, my father is the biggest entrepreneur that I know, who, you know, had to start by himself on his own. And, you know, wherever there was a problem, he would try to find a solution and then get a business out of it. So if you have it in you, and I think most people have it, you just have to push through, go for entrepreneurship. But I mean, if you have too much to risk, if you have a family, you know, you have to, you know, sustain for them, provide for them, then a job is understandable. But I would push the youth of Nepal especially to get into entrepreneurship, because not only will it help them, but it will help Nepal as a country to become much more greater economically than it is today.
Okay. Thank you so much for that advice. So you are also involved in the hospitality sector, right? So what are you currently doing in the hospitality sector? Audience like thore light.
I'm not directly right now involved, but my grandfather started the first resort of Nepal. He was also an entrepreneur by himself, you know. He was a simple tour officer, and he used to get a lot of German, American, European tourists, and he used to take them to this one point in Dhulikhel, when Dhulikhel didn't even have water. So to see the sunrise there, he used to take them at 3 o'clock, reach around sunrise, see the sunrise, do like a small picnic, and come back to Kathmandu, right? And that time the roads weren't great either. But he collected enough money and then worked with the community around there. There were 4 villages to bring water first to Dhulikhel from 4 kilometers away. So he invested all that. Then slowly he started building this beautiful resort that is Dhulikhel Mountain Resort today. And after that, today there are more than 105 tourism enterprises in Dhulikhel. So that I have been brought up there. My grandfather has been that visionary, so I've always been inspired by that. So back in MIT, I wrote a whole thesis. My final dissertation thesis was about a business model that would help rural development of Nepal. Nepal, Kathmandu, Pokhara is getting developed, but then what about the remaining parts of Nepal, right? So I saw what happened in Dhulikhel and what one man did. So I just thought about how hospitality, a new form of hospitality business model that can be, you know, multiplied into different rural parts of Nepal, so that economically also the rural development happens, as well as it's a good business model as well. So that's, now I'm getting into it. So I don't want to talk too much about it, so let it happen first.
Okay, sure.
But I'm working on a few projects that are hospitality related.
Okay. So Nepalko hospitality sector is kasto. How can we elevate the tourism industry through hospitality sector?
That's a very good question. I strongly believe that Nepal is a landlocked country. Everyone knows that, you know.
Yes.
And we talk about a million different business things and sectors. But I strongly believe, you know, if I was in a leadership position, I would focus my policies on two sectors. One is tourism and one is digital. I'll talk about tourism. So tourism is a sector. Nepal has this beautiful brand of being an exotic Himalayan country. It always has had that.
True.
And we just need to work on that. We have the people, we have the raw material, we have the mountains, we have beautiful lakes, hills, you know, beautiful culture. We have all that raw material, and we have the amazing people that are hospitable by nature, you know. Nepal ma aba tyo foreigners, when they come here, they always say that, you know, they love the people more than anything else, more than the mountains or the lakes. They talk about the people. So we have all of that. We just need a direction. I feel like Nepal needs a strong rebranding of what it is, not only for the foreigners, because foreigners actually know that, see Nepal as that exotic kingdom, but just for Nepal itself. We need a rebranding. The next 10 years is supposedly, in the budget, they've talked about it as the Visit Nepal decade. So if that decade we can use to rebrand the country, create infrastructures to go to places easier without any problems, you know, then the private enterprises will also come in, create resorts, create hotels, create tourism enterprises, and automatically Nepal will be one of the best destinations in the world.
Yeah, automatically it will prosper. So yeah, as you mentioned, Nepal ma say it's everything is available. On top of that, it's all naturally gifted.
Right.
So we have that benefit in us, and the only thing that is required is our efforts.
Right.
So I guess a lot of people are also interested in the hospitality sector. You know, हाम्रो youthहरु अहिले थुप्रै मान्छेहरु हुनुहुन्छ. So what would you recommend them to incorporate in their current state so that they can input in uplifting the hospitality sector of Nepal?
I will talk about a very foundation core thing that you can improve in yourself if you want to be in the hospitality sector. Okay, Indian hospitality sector is about serving, right? And to serve, you can't have ego, right? So you should be okay to serve anyone, any person, anywhere. And if you have that in you, you automatically will rise in the hospitality sector. You'll reach a general manager position or even higher. You might become an owner someday. But that core, you know, that core belief where you can put ego aside and give service to someone, your customer, or it doesn't even need to be a customer, anyone in your life, that is the true essence of hospitality.
Okay, that depends on the core of us, the person that we are, you know?
Right.
Okay, interesting. So let's move on to the ambassador thing, you know? So you are one of the youngest ambassador.
Honorary Consul.
Honorary Consul.
I'll tell you the difference in a bit. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's start with that. What's the difference between that two?
So what happens is, like countries like Nepal and Latvia, they're smaller countries. So Latvia won't, you know, other countries don't want to invest in a whole embassy and bring an ambassador. It's a long process and it's an expensive process. So there has been a Vienna Convention under the United Nations where they can appoint an honorary consul to represent their country, which is a voluntary job. So we don't benefit monetarily through that, but we work in a very similar role that an ambassador does. So we have to increase bilateral ties, businesses, culture, you know, people-to-people interaction. We have to make sure that Latvians in Nepal are safe and sound, or Nepalese in Latvia are safe and sound. So that is our roles in general. But that's the differentiation between ambassador, honorary consul, and our jobs.
Okay. So what are we expecting in the future? What are the roles that we are doing to uplift the relationship between Nepal and Latvia?
A lot actually, but it is complicated because we are two nations that are small and very far apart. But that's where I have really put my head down and tried to think about bilateral relationships. So the two main sectors that I have focused on is digital. Latvia is one of the top digital European nations, even though it's, you know, it's not the Western Europe and everyone has an ideology that the Western Europe is superior in that sense. I feel like Latvia is equally good in terms of their Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania has come up a lot in the past decade. And they have great startups, they have amazing people, which we can probably bring that technological transfer to Nepal. For example, one of the biggest company, I think it's called Microtech, which makes the modems, our Wi-Fi modems. It's a Latvian company.
Okay.
And it's used all over Nepal.
Okay.
And there's a lot of helping Nepalese go to Latvia. There are a lot of students there. They have the Erasmus program where they can go into the European program, study program. We have great students that have become doctors there. Then we have a lot of Latvians that come here for mountaineering.
Okay.
So during the lockdown, between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2, I think we had about like 30 Latvians that just came in to trek, you know, and they were stuck here. So then we had to, with the help of the European delegation, we had to send them back. But that's the kind of job we have to do for this role.
Okay, so the relationship between Nepal and Latvia, I wish that it just prosper.
Thank you so much.
So talking about Latvia, you have been traveling into a lot of countries. So to be very much precise, you have been into 51 countries?
I think about 51, yeah.
Yeah, so which one tops your list? Kun say ekdamai the place that I enjoyed a lot, and if given a chance, I could stay there for my lifetime.
That's interesting. On top of my head, besides Nepal, Nepal's always going to be my number one.
Yeah.
Besides Nepal, I really loved Portugal.
Okay.
So I was in Portugal for a couple of months right before London Business School. I had the summer break, and I had a friend who gave me her apartment. So I was there, and I was learning surfing there, and the people there are amazing. Food is great, and it's a very relaxed place. So I would go there when maybe I have, you know, achieved whatever I wanted to achieve in my life. There's this little city called Cascais, which has beautiful houses. They all drive these nice old 1960s, 70s vintage cars. I'd love to, like, you know, retire there someday. Or maybe Nepal will reach that level too, and you can just stay here.
Yeah, exactly. We hope that it happens
It will
soon,
happen.
right?
It will happen.
So yeah, तपाईले भनेको जस्तै मेरो मामा पनि भर्खरै he went to Portugal हैन, अनि त्यसपछि he said about it, त्यहाँको चाहिँ vibrancy, he really loved it हैन, त्यो कस्तो underrated ठाउँ रहेछ जस्तो कुरा गर्नुभयो के, अनि त्यसपछि so he said the similar thing, so it took me back to that conversation as well.
That's interesting.
So now let's talk about fashion, since you are a dapper yourself. So what is your style? What is styling for you?
I feel, okay, so there's a difference between those two questions. So I think styling for me, in general, is something you are comfortable in and something you can feel powerful in. And for me personally, my personal style would be, I feel the most comfortable in suits. So I told you I started boarding school from 5.5. It was a British boarding school, and we used to wear a uniform every day. So I barely wore casual all my life, you know. So I feel comfortable in this, you know. And when I'm like polished, I'm wearing a good fitting suit, I'm wearing nice shoes, like I mentioned, you know, it feels like it's an armor to the world. So we have to tackle everything daily. I feel like I can tackle the world much better in a suit. So that's my personal style. But someone else might be different.
Different, of
For
course.
example, Mark Zuckerberg chooses his, you know, the gray shirt and the jeans.
Yeah.
Then Steve Jobs had his turtleneck and his dad jeans, you know.
So that they can both save time. And
Save time, reduce decision making, and be comfortable and iconic as well, right? So I believe in that too. So eventually, maybe someday, like Tom Ford does that, Karl Lagerfeld does that. Eventually, I also want to elevate myself into, you know, a more standard uniform once I've made my name, so that I also don't need to make those decisions daily, you know. So you don't need to be flamboyant anymore, but you can look good in one thing.
presentable and one go. So this leads to me another another question, but I think I got my answer from the recent conversation. So one attire that you would wear hands down every day.
I have a very interesting thing about that, and I don't think you've got the full answer to that, because I feel like, I mean, suits are great. Right now, you know, when I'm presenting myself to the world and to my business partners, everyone understands what a suit is. But I want to do something with the Daura Surwal.
Okay.
You know, I want to somehow bring it back to the youth, because the youths don't wear it. It's like something that politicians wear nowadays, and people don't look at it nicely. I think I'm still thinking about it. So I want to somehow create that, maybe a uniform or an iconic style that we can bring back using the essences of our national dress, but adding some modern touches like suits and making it like a modern icon.
That's quite interesting. Like all the stylists that are watching today, I hope that they get inspiration from this conversation and they come out with some trendsetter uniform that
yeah, I hope they let me know too.
Yeah, so that you can be one of the faces to walk in them. Yeah, so यो कुरा गर्दा गर्दै, what do you think the fashion sense in Nepal is? Fashion scene, भनौँ न.
Scene. I think Nepal was always much ahead in terms of fashion than surrounding countries, and Nepal still is, I feel, you know. But in general, I feel the youth have lost their touch in terms of, like, I am, you know, someone who likes the old school fashion, like suits,
I can
you know.
see that also.
But now the world is moving towards athleisure, moving towards, you know, more casual outfits. But I feel the youth need to understand that a suit, especially if they want to, you know, not just go out, but like go into a business setting or be a leader, is a very powerful thing. So that's something that I push through my TikTok as well. And I just want people to understand that there's a power to wearing a suit. It's not just a fancy thing, and you don't need to shed a lot of money to make it. You can have a nice, well-fitted suit, and it can make a lot of difference when you go elevate in life. I'm using your podcast name again and again, but it is coming along with the flow, so might as well, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, styling ko barema you have a different छुट्टै एउटा episode पनि छ तपाईको हैन. I saw it on YouTube. तर त्यहाँ नभनेको कुराहरु चाहिँ I want to ask. So अघि एउटै suit बाट you can try out multiple things भनेर भन्नुभयो हैन. So let's say एउटा capsule wardrobe that every man should have. के हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ?
Men. So I would say definitely a dark, well-fitted suit. It can be simple, but even if you can't do that, a simple fitting white shirt can really elevate not just your style, but how you are presented to the world. And, you know, you being well-dressed is not for yourself. I forgot who said it, but I think it was one of the fashion designers. It's a form of well-manners too. I believe it was Tom Ford. It's a form of well-manners as well as respect to you, for example. Like, I would not want to come here in my, you know, PJs and, you know, T-shirt, because this is my respect to you by wearing a suit. So that they should get in their heads that it's not just for them, but it's for everyone around you. So a simple, well-fitted suit in the wardrobe, or if you can't do that, a simple white shirt, button-down white shirt that fits you well. That would be a great essential in your wardrobe.
Okay. So let's talk about accessories too. So men, they try to go as minimalistic as possible with accessories. But in your eyes, what are the top 5 necessary things that every man should have in terms of accessories?
I would make the umbrella slightly bigger and not just talk about accessories.
Okay.
But I feel like a man should, I mentioned one already, which is a well-fitted suit. And a decent haircut, you know, even if it's a buzz cut, because it's so utilitarian, it's easy. Easy to go with. Then I would say good hygiene, essential, you know, it's not a difficult thing to do. And I won't, like, I'm not a good body, but it doesn't need to be ripped, six-packed, everyone. It's very difficult for people to do that. But you can put in 30 minutes to 1 hour a day, especially younger people, to have a decent body. And everyone who has a decent body works for it. Rich or poor, no amount of money can buy you a nice body, you know. It might help you from personal trainers, this and that, but finally it's willpower, right? So a fit body. And number 5, I've talked about accessory because I talked about everything else. A decent watch. It does not need to be expensive, but something that says a bit about you, because men don't have a lot of accessories.
True.
But like a decent watch, don't need to go crazy on the money. When you can afford it, you can, but it's like a trophy for yourself as well, you know. So those are the 5 things.
Okay, so do you see any fashion blunder in the periphery of Nepal?
Quite a few, actually.
If you want to name some.
Okay, something that is quite common is matching your tie with your pocket square. Never do that. You get those little packs with matching pocket square and tie, but you're not supposed to do that, you know?
You get that.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to do that. A tie should always contrast your pocket square. and something like socks. So you never wear, so whenever you're wearing socks, you can't wear a lighter color, like a white socks, athletic socks with dark suit. It really brings it off, because the suit brings your, you know, like your contrast and your silhouette down, you know, so makes you look taller, makes you look broader. So it does a lot psychologically. It's just not a suit. So like you should never break your, you know, silhouette with a lighter socks. And fitting. Fitting is essential, you know. You 100%. Can't just make sure the pants are cropped a little bit, the shoulders are just snug, you know, the waist is decent, like decently tight, not very tight, not very loose. Quite a few things. So yeah. So you have a well-renowned knowledge in the fashion and styling. So where do you get your inspiration from? It's interesting. I was always into fashion for some reason. So 8th grade they did this career counseling test where all us like young 8th graders were filling a 2-hour exam paper where they tell you what you should be. And I was sure that I would be told to be a businessman. But the career counselor was like, you're very creative, you should be a fashion designer. I was like, no way, I'm being a fashion designer. But now I think about it, made some sense. Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, but still a businessman, but you know. In terms of fashion, I feel my inspiration would be, my dad was definitely an inspiration. He was a very well-dressed gentleman. My grandfather, he used to wear these amazing Chelsea boots. So whenever I wear Chelsea boots, his inspiration, he used to make his own Chelsea boots, no matter, you know, where he was. And my uncle, who passed away, but he was a style icon. If he was alive today, I feel like I would have learned so much from him. He used to wear these silk handkerchiefs that Italians, only I've seen Italian men's wear. And these are like my actual style, you know, icons. But in terms of more fictional, I mentioned Tom Ford and Karl Lagerfeld for the uniform kind of dress, iconic dresses. Besides them, I think there's one person who is like Gianni Agnelli. He's a Fiat not many people know about him, but he was known as the rake of the Riviera. So he's an Italian industrialist who owned a bit of Fiat, the company. And if you look into his style, it's simple, very elegant, very down to earth, but there's still a, you know, burst of energy there, and it's classy attire. So yeah, so basically it's a mixture of in-life inspiration and the inspiration from the eyes of cameras. Wherever you can get it. Right? Exactly. We need to have that eye, right? It's like it's where we can grasp all the knowledge. So I have a little bit of your game. So since you are a fashion icon in yourself, I have certain situation where you need to recommend the viewers what would be the ideal wardrobe for that situation. Okay. Right. So in a business meeting, what would be the ideal uniform that would elevate their look? Okay, I'm going to do this quickly. So a dark, well-fitted suit, maybe black Oxfords. It can be a blue or a dark red tie. Red tie shows power. That's it. Okay. Beach party. Maybe like a Hawaiian or a linen shirt with shorts, or even just swim trunks and some decent looking slippers. Okay. Airport look. I'm a strong proponent of someone who believes that you should be decently dressed in the airport. 100%. They just respect you in a different level when you're giving your tickets, immigration, etc. So in an airport, I believe you should wear, you can wear something comfortable like a t-shirt and like, you know, looser pants, but just put a like a linen jacket if it's summer, or a regular jacket, unstructured jacket on top, so that you look a little polished and more respectable. And well presented. Yeah. 100%. Nepali wedding. I would say whenever you have a chance, whenever I get a chance, I always try to wear a daura surwal, because I absolutely love wearing it. It's comfortable as well, you know, people don't see that. But besides that, I mean, if you can't wear a daura surwal, you can play around a little bit more with weddings, because you can experiment. You don't need to go with darker suits, so you can go with shades of blue or green, and you know, I would say wear a tie, and to look more formal, you always wear a white shirt, because a colored shirt makes you a little dressed down, so you can play with that.
So I completely 100% agree with this term, like wedding garuma say men really look good in dara sural jasari ketiharलाई say they look really good in sari bhane say it's a style statement. So I think dara sural would be a perfect choice.
And we need to bring it back, in the youth especially.
True. I hope that the viewers are listening to him. Clubbing.
Clubbing should be comfortable, right? So, I mean, if it's not like a very fancy where they require you to wear a suit, I would say like a nice, like a black silk shirt with comfortable pants or jeans and nice Chelseas. That would be great.
Okay. Picnic?
Picnic. So it depends. Picnic with friends or picnic with your
family,
partner? Family.
Yeah, okay, that was out of the box, but any picnic you would love to go in near future?
Comfortable, let's say summer picnic, then it would be like a maybe half linen shirt, some linen pants, and some moccasins, like slip-on shoes. Something comfortable. You can sit down on the ground and, you know, you'll be going around making the food, the bread, and whatever there is. So something comfortable.
Okay. Date night?
Date night. I think guys should not be afraid of dressing up in a date night, because they underestimate the power of, you know, being dressed up. That is to whoever they're going on a date with. And it's respect towards them, like I said. So if 100%. You can wear, if it's like, especially if it's like a nice date night, you're going somewhere fancy, you wear a suit, but you don't wear a tie. Maybe like a simple white or a light blue shirt, a dark suit, or a little bit more like maybe in the tones of blue, and a nice pair of shoes. And wear a nice scent if you have it, because you want to smell nice for your date.
True, 100%. And the final one, fashion shows.
Fashion show, you can go crazy, you know. So
you can totally experiment with that. So what would you wear?
So for example, last time I was in a fashion show, I was wearing this tuxedo, but I wanted to add some flair to it, because the tuxedo can be quite uptight, you know. So I put this nice little silk scarf on top, which had nice patterns, just to put out that color and the pop of style. Or even like an ascot would be great, you know, with the open thing, with like the old silk scarves that no one wears nowadays.
Retro.
So that's something.
Okay.
I mean, I can go on about this. So.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice that you just gave. I hope that our viewers got a lot of insights about how to dress up in the next event that they are going to attend. So now let's move on to the family side of your life. Okay. Let's slow it down a bit. So who are there in your family? Any त्यसपछि उहाँहरुको थोरै background भन्नु पर्दाखेरि?
So it's close family. Is dad, mom, and my sister. And so this is my, you know, the core family. And so let's start with my dad. So my dad is a self-made businessman, and he has worked hard all his life, and which has taught me a lot too. We can talk about it later. My mom, she is, so the grandfather I mentioned was her father, Dhulikhel Mountain Resort. So she was also in the hospitality background, so she ran the resort for a long time as well. And she has been my inspiration for spirituality and hospitality as well.
That's interesting.
And I'm going to keep it brief, but my sister, she is, you know, the best sibling you can ask for, you know. And like I said, I can be biased, but you
that's very sweet of you to say that.
But she's also a great person. She's contrasting to me in terms of extroverted and introverted. Maybe she's more to the introverted side, but she reads a lot. She's extremely intelligent, and she's the leader, so the curator, they say, it's like the president of this group called the Global Shapers, which is the World Economic Forum young arm. And she's been working hard towards that, as well as the business.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about your father. I think you mentioned it somewhere, the story about how he started and what he had to go through in his childhood. So could you please elaborate a bit on that?
So I don't think many people know that, but his father did not treat the family right for various reasons. And so even when he was studying, you know, in a like a local school in Nepal. He didn't even pay for his tuition. So he had to make ends meet, he had to find any job possible and any business ideas possible just to pay for his tuition, you know, from a very young age, you know. And so he's been someone, even though he was from a big family, he had to start from scratch, the absolute scratch, you know, and bring himself back up to the level that you see him today. So I have seen that throughout my life as a kid. So that makes me, you know, that makes me humble, that makes me respectable to and grateful to whatever we have and never take it for granted. And that makes me diligent because I've seen the suffering he's been through, and I cannot be less hardworking than him, although it's very difficult to beat him in hard work. But he's my, you know, he's the star that I aim for. So even if I reach the moon, like I said, I'll be more than happy.
Okay, so he is also one of the role mentor that you have in your life.
He's the role mentor that I have in my life.
Okay, that's very lucky thing to have, because if you have a good role model, then you will avoid as much obstacles in your life as possible. So I think you are very lucky on that term.
I would say so. But I would tell anyone out there, especially the youth, that try to find a mentor, whoever it is, because that really helps you get a compass for the direction of your
100%.
life. You know?
I agree to that point 100%. And your mom, is the hotelier in you the byproduct of your mother?
You could say that, because she studied hospitality. She was always a hotelier, and she used to always take us to the resort. So we grew up in, you know, this DMR, the Hill Mountain Resort, and I always saw my grandfather there, you know, he was quite a strict guy from what I remember, and I always saw him very polished, you know, talking to the employees, and the employees all respected him because he did a lot for that place. So absolutely, it's a mixture of my grandfather, my mother, and somehow poured down into me, and now hopefully I can be as great as they were.
Okay, you are proving your point in every aspect you are doing right now.
I'm trying.
And all the best for your future endeavors as well. So you come from currently you come from a very successful family, and especially I guess everyone is equally busy in their own lives as possible. So your family bonding चाहिँ कसरी create हुन्छ in four of you? Your family quality bonding time चाहिँ कसरी spend गर्नुहुन्छ तपाईहरुले?
That is a very good question. On top of my head, if I think about this, all of us are very hardworking. We're all workaholics.
I can see that from your experience.
But one thing that I do personally is I've mentioned before in other things maybe that I love cooking. So one thing I try to do is cook for the family. You know, so recently I made this duck. And I try to bring everyone together. So I make the meal, maybe we have a bottle of wine, we sit down together with no phones, that's important, and just sit and eat a meal together. I think there's some kind of power to that, if you can do that, you know. Even if you're not talking, if you're sharing a meal, there's some essential humanity into that makes you get close to each other.
A very underrated but very important thing that we can do to elevate the relationship bonding.
Absolutely.
Right? So with this we are almost at the end of our today's episode, and so I would like to end as my other episodes as well. So let's end it up with a rapid fire round.
Oh wow! Okay.
So are you ready for it?
No, you can't be ready for a rapid fire round. So.
But let's go for it.
Okay, absolutely.
Right. So your go-to place to hang out in Kathmandu?
I love the farmers market Saturdays, because that's the only time I get time to hang out. So that's a great place where you can get bits and bits of everything and eat and just meet friends as well.
Plus promote the homegrown products as well.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Which country is in your bucket list next?
Next, I'd love to go to Japan. That's one place I briefly was, but I haven't been there concretely. So I'd love to go to Japan and see how it is.
I hope that you make that trip very soon. Restaurant food or home-cooked food?
Home-cooked any day. Any day.
Karan as an entrepreneur or Karan as an hotelier? Which one would you prefer more?
I mean, you can be a hotelier and an entrepreneur, you know.
But if
But
you,
I mean, I don't like to use the word entrepreneur for myself.
okay.
But I would love to be a hotelier and a very successful hotelier that has impacted Nepal as a country, not just in terms of building hotels, but improving communities. That's what I want to be known for.
Okay. So favorite cuisine to cook?
I love cooking, you know, French, old school French cuisine. That's my style. But any day I can cook a really nice dal bhat tarkari too, you know. So I'm good at that too. So mix of both.
Okay. Fiction or non-fiction book?
Right now, non-fiction for sure. Yeah.
One favorite book that you think it was life-altering in your life?
That's actually a fiction book. So it's called Atlas Shrugged. It's written by this author called Ayn Rand, I think 1930s or something. And it is very idealistic in its philosophy, but there are characters in it that are so motivated and hardworking that it pushes you to be great, you know. So even before I got into non-fiction books, there were characters like Hank Rearden in Atlas Shrugged, that if you read that book and you read about him, you're just like amazed by the ethics he has and the hard work, diligence he has. That really pushed me from, I think I read it in 8th or 9th grade, and from there I kind of idolized to be
I
that
think you
person.
just read my mind. I was about to ask you what age were you when you read that, and you just answered it. City life or countryside?
I'm more of a city person, especially in the young age, because I prefer fast moving things, but eventually I'd love to be in the countryside.
Settle down there. Yeah. Okay. So favorite way to unwind after a long, tiring day?
I love cooking, and cooking is one way I unwind myself. So I'd love to just be able to cook, be in my own zone, you know, maybe cook for the family as well. That would be one way to unwind.
Okay, that's quite interesting, because after a long day, I can't imagine to go to the kitchen and just cook.
That's what, you know, for most people, for most people cooking is a task, but for me, when you do it once off, you know, one off, it becomes something that is therapeutic, you know, so that's why.
Okay. Which celebrity would you like to take on a date?
Wow. Maybe Ana de Armas.
Okay.
I had a slight crush on her before. She's like the new it girl in Hollywood, I feel. So maybe her.
May that happen soon. All my good wishes for you. Most stylish Nepali celebrity male?
Gosh, that you've put me in a spot, because I don't really know a lot of Nepali celebrities. Probably Rajesh Hammal.
Yeah, he's
so
the
iconic
evergreen
though.
star. He is the iconic person.
I mean, you can't beat him, I guess, right? You
no
can't
matter
beat him,
whoever come across.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most stylish Nepali celebrity female? This you must know.
Unfortunately, I don't know a lot of celebrities in Nepal, but female.
It's a rapid fire.
I know. Hamro, what is her name? Hamro Maiti Nepalko.
Anuradha.
Yeah.
Anuradha
So
Koirala.
I feel, I don't know, you said celebrity, but I guess she's an iconic figure. But she has this, you know, she always wears that tika and she has that outfit that makes her very iconic. Simple but iconic. So I think that's more powerful than any flamboyant celebrity.
Okay. So one piece of advice that's the best thing that you have ever received in your life?
So I read a lot about Stoic philosophy. So one thing that I really respect, that I read by Marcus Aurelius, I believe, he was this emperor back in the Roman days. He said that we respect ourselves in general more than others, but why do we let the opinions of others affect us than the opinions of ourselves? So do you understand?
Yeah,
so,
I think I did.
Yeah, so like, you know, even let's say you have a TikTok account and people are commenting, people will comment anything in it, that affects you more than what you believe you are, you know. So if your self-belief becomes stronger than the belief that comes from outside, I think you can be much more powerful as an individual, as a person, and I think that's one of the biggest advices I've gotten.
Yeah, And that's a really good piece of advice because ahileको generation when the youngsters are being so affected, you're a sano failure they are getting so much affected. And I think this is the much required piece of advice anybody can have. And thank you so much for sharing that, by the way. So yeah, with that we are at the end of our today's program. So one final piece of advice to all our viewers watching you right now. The camera is yours.
Okay, final piece of advice. Yeah. I would say respect yourself. And by respect yourself, I mean respect your mind, your body, your soul. So do 3 things. One for your mind, let's say reading every day. Start with 1 page a day. 1 page you can do, it takes about 2 minutes. And then go on reading and increasing that strength. Body, exercise, respect your body through exercise. And your soul. So I would say even I try to meditate daily. I mentioned this. Even if it's 1 minute or 2 minutes or silence or gratitude, these are things that heal your soul. So I'll say it again quickly. So mind, reading, body, some kind of workout, and soul, meditation or gratitude practice. If you can do these 3 things and create a foundation in your life, I can promise you the next 5 years or decade of your life will be much better than what it would have been. So that's my advice.
Thank you so much. I think you are living an ideal life. I want to be like this. You are living it and you are a prime example that everything can be possible. So, if 5 जनाले मात्रै पनि मोटिभेट भएर भोलिदेखि आफ्नो चेन्ज गर्यो भने it would be a huge achievement for both of us, I assume.
I'd be super happy, even if it's a drop, even if it's 1 person, I'd be more than happy.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, for gracing with your presence. And I wish you everything, every luck and happiness in your life, whatever you do. All the best in every step of your life. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Renisha.
Okay, so that's a wrap, guys. Today we have witnessed the remarkable journey of Karan Vaidya. We talked about fashion, entrepreneurship, hospitality, and whatnot. His story reminds us that greatness is achieved through passion, perseverance, and taking that first courageous step towards our dream. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey, and remember, no dream is too big when you have the determination to chase it. Until next time, keep elevating your life and embracing the power within you. Make sure that you follow on our social media handlings and make sure that you hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel so that I can reach out to more people and we can elevate together. Till then, keep elevating. Bye-bye.